get in the Twitch stream. This is the Twitch stream. 1 second. Please get in. There it is right there. Get in, folks. Get in, folks. I'm going to be shutting down the Discord stream very shortly. Whoops. Oh, I'm sorry. I linked the coffee page in open private chat. I'm stupid. I'm dumb. I was linking stuff in the wrong section. Okay, let's see here. Alright, so here's the Twitch page. Here's the Twitch page link. You can also click my profile for the Twitch page link, and here is the Ko-fi link for the donations page. The people in private chat where I posted that stuff are very confused right now. What's that? Yeah, I can go to Twitch and then say something, and then I can mod you there. But I want you on voice in here, mainly. Yeah. Oops. Let's get this up. There we go. I need to clean up my desktop this week. It's got so many disorganized files. Is it Scraggy YT? Oh good, one of my mods actually did show up. I may not actually need to mod you right away. But I'll do that, I'll work on that later. I need to get the class started. Alright folks, so welcome to week 5 of the character design class. I've been trying to kind of throw down the railway tracks ahead of me as the train's oncoming and how I've been running this class, and so I have some better ideas of how to run a class like this next time I do this. But what I want to do today is maybe reorient everyone with some basic principles of character design to start with. So these are 10 principles. Whoops! These are 10 principles of character design that I found through a YouTube, and I've seen these before, in character design classes and stuff. The particular guy, I'll link him in chat in a little while, but was an excellent little guide video, and he gave some pretty good examples. Some of the artists he gave examples of were I was actually planning on looking at tonight, but. Here's the 10 principles. Here's some basic 10 principles of character design. Story, shape and line, silhouette, proportions and exaggeration, expression, posture and stance, scale, color, shading, and texture. So I did these little kind of quick doodles here to kind of illustrate what I'm talking about with these. So story is very important. Story is the guts of your idea. It's the backstory that it goes behind the character. It's what the character would be thinking or feeling, and what's the point of the character. Story can be something you write down beforehand, or it's something that you keep in mind and you embed into the sketch that you're doing with the character. There's got to be something to them. There's got to be some kind of thing communicated and conveyed through them. And it can be elaborate or simple. But for story, yeah, a good starting point with story is to basically write something down. But I mean, there's a lot of examples of embedding story into your figure drawing classes, for example, when you try to push a story in the character models and stuff. When you either try to make them into characters, or you try to push the pose and push what the person is doing in the pose. There's tons of different angles of how to approach story. But story is a really abstract concept that you need to kind of have bubbling around for how it drives what your characters are doing, what they're thinking and feeling, what the point of them all is. Shape and line. I didn't actually give very good examples of line here. Well, there's some at the end, but I did some doodles here to show for shape and line, you can use basic shapes to create characters. And even on like more realistic characters and stuff, you can think of things in terms of shapes. Like, let me give a good example here. The Aladdin model sheets for Disney's Aladdin, they broke things down by shape language. And there's a really famous model sheet that you'll see often in animation school, or character design school, is this, where they show off like the very basic kind of ornamental shapes that they broke the characters down into. Like Sultan is like these kind of he's kind of like a round. He's very rounded, and he's kind of got like this sort of egg-shaped body. Aladdin got this narrow waist and this kind of like sort of a lamp or a vase. Jasmine kind of has that going on too, but more narrow at the bottom of the legs. Genie is like, he's a supernatural being, so he is like, unlike the other characters, he's got like a lot of emphasis on the top part of him because he's floating around with that big floaty body. Carpet is Carpet bears a lot of similarity to this thing called the flour sack, which is something that's often used for animation exercises, which is basically a animation character design that is stripped of any kind of complexity, so you can just concentrate on basic emotion and trying to convey emotion, mood, or physicality in action through this really simple character. And Carpet is kind of like that in how he's basically animated, except they applied like a really complex computer rendered texture map onto him for a lot of his stuff, which was kind of innovative for the time. Yeah, that's a really good example. There is also George Bridgman, which we're going to be covering some more of George Bridgman in the future. Shape body. He's got a good example. See if I can find it. But there is one page in particular I wish I had more prepped. Right. Oh, here, I think this might be one example of it. But there's one page in particular in his book on figure drawing where he breaks down the figure into really basic shapes, like triangle for the foot, like a box for like the pelvis, circular like a sphere for the torso, and so on. Box for the head, cylinder for the neck, and so on. He's got like there's one page in particular where he like lays out like the basic shapes in line up next to it. I wish I had it handy, but oh wow. There's some great studies of Bridgman right there that somebody did. But yeah, we're going to be studying a lot more from George Bridgman in our figure drawing class during the next semester of my classes. He's really tough to get into, but if you know what to look for in him, you can get a lot out of him. What was that you were saying? Yeah. Oh no, we're going to get into that tonight, actually. Yeah. I mean, like you can also get into that with the Aladdin model sheets because they lay it out for you right here, how you can break down these characters and stuff. Like Disney has, you can find a lot of the Disney model sheets online, and we've gone over some of them before in this class, of like how they break the characters down into basic shapes to make them easier for the animators to track and move around. But anyway, so shape and line, you can use different shapes to construct your characters and stuff, and you can also use different types of line, like textured lines, thick to thin lines, curvy lines, angular lines, sweeping lines. You can cut across the lines to create more shapes, like this kind of principle of figure drawing right here. Like I just use these parallel lines right here, and then I can attach like a box on the end of it right here, make a couple of circles that cap it off there and there. I've created this kind of cylinder thing that sort of tapers into a box end, and that's basically a forearm, and that's an upper arm. That's like a basic principle of using line and shape to build something. But in terms of like constructing your characters, you can play with you can actually like just do this just for fun. Like you can try seeing what happens when you just like arrange random shapes together and stuff in different kind of complex or simple ways. See what happens when you work them and try. You can like fill up a whole page of stuff like that, just for fun. So silhouette. This has been covered last week, and we actually had a bit of an assignment on it from last week. But silhouette is like the basic read of a character, and like if you can usually tell, if you can tell something, if you can read and understand what the character is doing, or who the character is from a silhouette, like that you blank out completely, then it's usually a good sign that you have a good character design or a good character pose. Silhouette character design. One page in particular that we've gone over. Well, here, look, we've gone over this stuff before, so I'm just going to touch on it this time. But I mean, like, there's this page that we looked at from last week of like very iconic characters that have very distinct, clear silhouettes, and you can tell them apart from each other, and so on. Silhouette character design, corpse bride. There's the silhouette shape language from Corpse Bride we looked at last week. Of like these are really diverse shapes for like background characters in the film and stuff. But I mean, like you can fit all kinds of you can combine the shape and line principle with the silhouette thing to build characters that are just like simple silhouettes, and you get some interesting results out of doing that. There's also the print. This is going to get into posing, but let's see, Jiminy get silhouette. Stanch field. So we can find this thing that I'm looking for. Walt Stanchfield. Walt Stanchfield was a guy who used to teach figure drawing at Disney. I'm trying to find his. Damn it. Google's fucking up for me right now. Give me a second. Alright, so this is something there's actually a public domain available version of this, but the Drawn to Life books 1 and 2 are worth picking up, and then the collected notes from the figure drawing classes of Walt Stanchfield. I strongly recommend picking up the physical copies because they have more info than the PDF you can find that's been in public domain for years online. But silhouette is one of the topics that he covers among many things, and there's one particular example he gives with Jiminy Cricket that I wanted to find, which I've shown before. But yeah. Anyway, we're going to move on from this. So, proportions and exaggeration. This, of course, deals again builds off the other things that we had of playing with different, like distorting. You can play when you're designing your characters with distorting different parts of their body to find different variation and stuff. You can even do this on like more realistic characters to like kind of find more caricatured variation. A good example of that is the game Dishonored 2. There is excellent examples of more realistic character design that is kind of like stylized, like Penny Dreadful, sort of slightly warped Victorian caricature-inspired versions of people's of like human faces and stuff. Like, these are not real people. These are like fabricated, exaggerated people with exaggerated features, and they're very heavily stylized, and that plays into the aesthetic of the game. But they are more realistic, and they're grounded in a kind of a realism to them, to their design. Oh, that's neat. But yeah, I mean, even like more realistic games like the Last of Us series, for example, you'll see those principles come into play there, because those characters, if you look at them really close, are very slightly exaggerated versus like a realistic person. Because that it lends itself better to more expressive acting. But anyway, so expressions, of course. are a big important part. Definitely, that's something that's a big important part of animation, because characters go through change of expression. It's also part of sequential art and storytelling. And if you're doing illustration with designed characters and stuff, the expression that the character has is very much a part of the scene that you're telling, or tells you something about the character. I give some random examples of expressions, but I mean, let me see, what would be a good example to show? Well, let's look at some of the artists that I was going to show off today. This guy, who I'm going to link in chat, from ArtStation, who I found today. I've seen his work before, but it's I've seen his work before, but now I'm going to get a chance to dig into it some more with y'all here. And here's the link in chat, and I'll also link that in Twitch too while I'm at it. Yeah, Team Fortress 2 is a great example of silhouette language. I mean, that entire, like, the Team Fortress 2's team like put together a lot of stuff recording their process that they went through of designing that game. So digging more in the rabbit hole of the design work that went into Team Fortress 2 is an excellent thing to go into. But yeah, like, you can see all the principles that we've already touched on here. Like, I mean, like, even in this, if you filled what he did in here with this, like, Sonic the Hedgehog thing in black, you can tell what he's doing. You can, of course, tell that it's Sonic. But you use, like, if you look at it, he uses really simple shapes, nicely designed simple shapes to build this guy. And then he uses all these other principles, some of which we're going to touch on today, several of which I'm not very good at, by the way, full disclosure. Although that's kind of obvious. I can't hold a candle to someone like this dude, but that doesn't mean we can't learn from him, and that I can't strive to be as good as him someday, along with all of you guys here. But yeah, like, there's a lot of like all of the stuff that I'm talking about coming together in his stuff. He's taking the basic idea of, like, real dinosaurs and distorting it and exaggerating and stylizing it. I think this is a dinosaur design from the World of Warcraft series, because they have some very stylized dinosaur monsters in it. Or that might be an original design from him. This guy does a lot of Hearthstone art and World of Warcraft art and stuff. Some mature content there. He did some of the Spear Reignited trilogy concept work, I believe. I think that's what this stuff is. Yeah. There's a bunch of really awesome artists that worked on that. But yeah, he has, like, great expressions and so on, and since we're covering this topic of expressions here, we can also segue into posture and stance, because those kind of work interlink. You can see storytelling about the expression on this guy's face here. There's even expression on this mask here, contrasting with him. You can even say that those little skulls there even have a kind of a goofy expression to them, and all that works in conjunction with the posture that this guy has. There's a sense of weight coming on the staff that he's holding there, how he has his hand out like that, how he's balanced on his foot, the attitude that he has a really loose, very groovy attitude to him. He's like a kind of a groovy, loose voodoo doctor guy. He's a voodoo witch doctor guy. He's from the Spear Reignited trilogy. He's one of the enemies or something, I don't know, but yeah, he's got, like, he's like kind of a laid. He's an enemy, but he seems a voodoo theme kind of enemy. He seems pretty laid back and stuff. You know, his designs, he's wearing, like, flip flops and stuff. It's in very modern design and stuff. So for more an expression, there's this guy who means business. He's cartoony and stylist, so there is a little bit of humor to him. Like, a lot of Warcraft designs kind of have this humorous edge to them, and even when they're being serious. This guy's really grimacing and deadly serious, but he's fun. Like, he's fun. Like, this is World of Warcraft is fun. So the stylization in that, even when the characters are being serious, tends to lean on the fun side. And more Spear Reignited. This dragon, his posture here is. He's very much a meditative type who's into incense and so on, and very astral oriented. His head's up in the clouds, kind of like a Tao master or something. You can even see that reinforced in the designs that are on his scales under here, with, like, the cosmic kind of stuff. Everything about him tells us about them. This is a kind of a opera virtuoso dragon who's like music themed. His like tail even has like kind of a musical instrument sort of thing here. And he's looks like an opera virtuoso and stuff it's got like a violin sort of thing on his belly, but it also looks like an opera singer's outfit in a way. He's got an opera singer's sort of sweep to his hair. Yeah. In his posture here, I can't. I don't know too much. I don't know too much about what the posture is conveying, but it does tell us about his attitude generally right here. He does kind of seem, I guess, postured how like a musician or an opera singer would be postured kind of proudly. Yeah. Maybe go into one more example here that might be really good of showing off posture and posture, expression, and stance. Maybe a battle stance. Here's a couple characters that are ready for battle. Kinda. Yeah, I mean, like there's a big cat character right here who he absolutely means business, and he's ready to pounce, and he's poised for battle. And his human companion character next to him, who is looks like a goddess, I think. I don't even know what game this is, but it looks like it might be like a Greek god-themed game or something. But yeah, they're ready. They got an arrow notch. They're ready to fight. This guy's got his flames bursting out, and he's ready to pounce. I mean, like these two characters look like they mean business. She's not quite in the battle yet, but you can see there's like little bits of storytelling of that they've been through some battles. They got scratches on themselves and stuff. And of course, they kind of have like a druid and a animal companion sort of thing going on with how they're standing next to each other for their character relationship and their posture. Yeah. Posture and stance and expression. These almost could be like the same principle, but expression mostly deals with facial expression, and posture and stance deals with body language and like general purpose of the pose. Like I doodled some examples here of like some characters with very different attitudes and stuff, and like poses. Scale deals with how big things are in relation to each other. How big is the character in relation to other characters? How big is the character in relation to the background or the other objects around them? You can play with scale and have characters of different varying heights for your storytelling that might be closer together. Like these guys are kind of in the same scale range as each other, but even though one of them's much taller than the other one. But then you got this giant guy that's like way beyond the scale of all of them, and you got this little tiny mouse guy. Maybe we got even like a little flea character here who's like itty bitty, way down there. And then these guys are pretty much like close on the same plane. Like this guy's got his hand up here, so we can get a scale cue from just how big he is. We got a few trees in the background, but then we got maybe. So here's a building back here. You need to like, in order to convey scale, you have to usually like show something to compare something to, show how big something is in relation to other things. So for example, we got some buildings back here, stuff, and then way back here is a big old kaiju. A little helicopter doodle right there, going by him. There's like more buildings behind him and stuff. There might be like more rubble or smoke or something behind him. So finding cues to work off for scale can help like get a sense of how big or small the character is in relation to other things. So keep scale in mind for your characters for sure. So these three things, which I'm not very good at and I want to get better at actually. So color, shading, and texture. Color, of course, deals with color. Like color could tell something about the characters and stuff. These little quick doodles that I did, like this kind of weird synthwave character in the center with split body color, little kind of frog devil guy over there, and this kind of depressed dude moping here. Like you can use colors to tell story about the character, tell story and personality about the characters, and that's its own thing. I mean, like, if you want great examples of how important color is, you can look at people like this guy that we just looked at. He's amazing with color, and you can even see like his black and white value studies right here are freaking rad. And that gets a little bit into shading. Shading can be its own kind of style. It can be its own style of things. It deals with lighting, and it deals with it also deals with design. Like you can design your shadows. Like you'll often see, like in anime, for example, you might see kind of like this kind of weird, especially like 80s and 90s, early 90s anime. You'll see like stuff that has like these really kind of weird, playful, designy, kind of broken up versions of the shadows and stuff. Sometimes with like weird abstract shapes in them and other things. There's all kinds of different examples of like being able to play with shading and shadows, and the sky's the limit with it, honestly. But yeah, this dude, you can see more traditional examples of shading going on here with how he's doing this. But how he approaches this is very, very polished, and it's also more kind of in line, I would say, with World of Warcraft-ish looking shading techniques. Like you'll see a lot of stuff in World of Warcraft house style that has kind of this like very, very rounded edge looking thing. Let me see if I can find a good example here. Let's grab some of these Hearthstone art pieces. Yeah, I mean, you can see how they handle like the edges and the shading on the armor, especially. That's very, very Blizzard, right there. Like how they handle. There's almost kind of like wedged cookie decorations. It looks like they're all, like the armor on World of Warcraft characters at times looks almost like you're looking at baked pieces of gingerbread with like frosting, heavily stylized, like almost kind of like what's it, marzipan or something. Wedges of frosting on the edges and stuff that are kind of carved out at the edge, carved out but left a little rough here, as you can see. They even do use that kind of stylization on clothes, and you can even see in some of that book. And like those really hard edges, and like the stylization on the lighting here on the edges of stuff. So yeah, how you stylize and design your shadows is a big thing. Alright, and let's get to the last thing we'll touch on is texture. This kind of fucked up, but texture, of course, deals with like different, like, well, textures of the areas of color that you're using and so on, like different kind of materials and surfaces. Like you'll get, we can look again at this guy for examples of stuff like this is a good example of, he's using like different textured brushes here for different kind of rough effects on the sketching here, and then like smoothing out things in certain areas. Like you get kind of like these smooth areas right here where he's got kind of like fleshier bits of the scales and got kind of like more rougher sort of design to the texture of the brushes that he tends to use on some of the areas. These are sketches, of course, that he's doing, so they're not like finished works, but you can see him like using bits and pieces of texture here to kind of like work out the different types, because like the scales on the top of their body are different like the scales on the underside. So he uses a little bit of texture in there to kind of convey that. Other examples using this guy again some more. Let's maybe see see if I can find something that has a good variation of texture in it. So we can look at different materials. Ooh, this one might be good. Actually, we can go back to this dude again. But you can see in this guy, for example, like how he kind of textured his skin versus like how he textured like the metal here, for example, versus how he textured the wood here. And he mostly, it looks like he used the same brush, but he designed the texture of the surface here and handled it slightly differently for each area. And he handled that differently versus how he handled the drawing on this guy. Now he approached this. This is a lot more sketchy for sure. But yeah, I think there's a pretty good example. I think there's better examples in The Incredibles character design. Alright, so let's see if I can find some good examples here. So in The Incredibles, a lot of the design work, let's see, collage. Here we go. Teddy Newton's collage work for The Incredibles. This is like straight up just playing with texture, because he would do like magazine cutouts, kind of, to figure out the characters, and he would use like often like different textures, like he would often like play with different textures. Like here's a really great example, the Rick Dicker character, like where he used like kind of this gritty texture right here. I don't even know what material he used here when he cut these out, but he found something that kind of like get this kind of warlorn sort of feeling here with the texture he chose. And this like kind of like basic, generally like quickly put together idea for like the character kind of became something for other artists like Peter San here to riff on in kind of a more animator approach. And you can use stuff like this to kind of figure out your character. Like your character design doesn't have to look how it's going to look when it actually appears in the final thing. You can work out ideas with it with like really basic concepts using it. And in fact, like at Cal Arts, I think they were I don't know if they do it anymore, but they would actually teach students to do the magazine cutout approach for some of their designs. But you can do that same sort of thing with like painting and stuff. You'll see like wash paintings and things like that that use varied kinds of texture and stuff. Like I know Teddy Newton likes doing that too. But yeah. Anyway, so I mean that's like the 10 principles we're going to be touched on right here. But what we're going to do now, I want to see if I can find some homework that people have done, so we can get give them a little bit of feedback. And we can also look at some really freaking rad artists that I've found very recently that we're going to maybe study from a bit, and try to like pull some knowledge and information from, and maybe do some draw over studies or try to emulate or study little bits of their work. We'll be doing that for the next hour and a half. I'm gonna check out some of the questions in chat. Let's see here. Yep. The Kung Fu Panda designs by Nico Marlett. Yeah, these are from the Kung Fu Panda art book. You did these on looks like he did these on a cardboard surface, didn't he? Or something. That texture back there. I think he threw down some paint on here to stain the surface or something. I don't know what the side there is. But yeah, he did like these little scribbly kind of loose things, and then he went back over on top of it with these really simple painted shapes to kind of explore like Poe as a character. I mean, it would be awesome for me to like do something like that with this character that I've been working on. I'm trying to get to know this character some more, and maybe I might want to play with this some more before I get too locked into this one that I'm doing, this version of that I'm doing. So I may want to try something like that for myself. Anyway, let's take a look at some more Discord stuff. Yeah, Team Fortress 2 is well known for their silhouettes, definitely. Wander over yonder, keep darkness color. Yeah. Splatoon's art style is great for texture, but for style, not character design. I'm interested why you think that. So I think they have good character design shapes. I mean, their shapes are. They took a very, very Team Fortress 2 approach to the character designs in Splatoon to make them recognizable from a distance. Here you go. Here's some of the stuff, some of the Splatoon art book stuff of them exploring different designs. I think there's a couple art books. There's Splatoon 1 and Splatoon 2 art book stuff. Yeah, Splatoon is great to look at for inspiration, for sure. They have a lot of amazing concept art. Oh yeah, there's ARMS concept art that's really good too. There's one drawing. Oh yeah, here these pieces in particular. These pieces of like almost like key art are really amazing. There's great examples of use of texture right here on this guy. This guy's pretty flat, but I mean you can still get a sense of his construction to him. It's kind of in the Teddy Newton-ish vein of painting. I think there might be some other stuff in here. Some of that might be fan art, but oh well. But yeah, I mean, I think Splatoon's really good to look at. Splatoon 2, but I'm interested why you don't think their character design holds up so much. Can you send homework? Yeah, you can post homework in chat. Yeah, that's the homework from last week. Take a look at this. Yeah, it looks like you're referencing Seth Rogen. Isn't that from Dream Daddy, that dude there? Yeah. I mean, I would just draw tons of this to kind of get a loose sense. I don't know which of these are your drawings. Are these your drawings up here? Or I know that is, but is that? But I mean, it looks like an okay starting point. I'd gather even more and practice, and just practice endlessly, just get used to the characters. You're gonna be drawing them a lot to kind of play with them. I mean, look at what Nico Marlett did with Poe here, and he did way more than just this. This is just like the simple stuff on this. It's like one page of this kind of stuff. You can look at the Kung Fu Panda art book to really kind of see just how extensive he played with the designs. Let's actually bring him up. Go Marlett, Kung Fu Panda. Here we go. Yeah, he so this is where he went with it. Like his designs very much drove the look of the film. Or the films, rather. As he worked on the sequels. Yeah, he really got to know the characters on the page, and I love these because you can see what he did before he did his ink and paint stuff on top of the these sketches that he was doing. Like you can see the rough lines and stuff that he was kind of working out the pose and so on. Actually, I want to see if I can find some footage of him doing drawings like these just to see how he kind of does his thought process. But look at that. There's a lot of the principles that we're talking about at work here, like the principles of expression right there. There's a bunch of expressions of this character. Principles of posing down there, posing and stance. That would be really extremely important for a kung fu themed film for sure. Yeah, these are really awesome. There's qualities in these that they didn't quite get into the final film that I kind of wish they did. Really love that one. I think they did. There was some 2D animation they did that actually did get closer to his art style for the films, and also for his special, I think. Oops, it's somebody trying to imitate him. Yeah. The reptile characters he's done are some of my favorites too. They wound up using those in the sequels, even though he did do them originally for the first thing. Oh yeah. Yeah, the character designs for Panty and Stocking, easy pose and shape language, definitely. Working on this old character of mine, and I use the exaggeration principle. I guess. I mean, there's more you can do to push this for sure. Pretty sure James Baxter did the 2D animation for the Kung Fu Panda films. Yeah, I think you might be right about that. Here are the notes I took for anyone who's... Yeah. There's also... I'm going to link the YouTube of the guy that I'm talking about, whose video is really awesome. Here it is right here. 10 Principles of Character Illustration. And he gives monster characters as examples in this. And he actually cites some of the people we're going to be looking at tonight a bit, I think. So what we're probably going to do... I'm going to look over, see what other stuff people are posting. I might do a draw over demo of some other people's stuff. Okay, I made TF2 art like just now. Yeah. You can do some more construction work with your drawings, but I think these are good. It's little quick studies. The features are kind of sliding around on these guys, but this is good for kind of... This is good kind of a study. Well, what were you using to study from, or were these just out of your head? I like that. Was this a study of an actual thing like that with the boot print on the face, or did you come up with that yourself? Random references. Oh, cool. Yeah, playing with silhouette some more. Yeah, you've got to work more on your construction, but I do like that you're trying to play with basic silhouette and stuff. I mean, I mostly understand what these are at a glance, but I think the main thing holding it back is more understanding the figure drawing. But I think you're off to a good start in making your characters distinct. I mean, I can tell these characters apart. This is nice. Then we can fine-tune and push the drawing construction more and stuff. Like how you're trying to redo the hands there. Yeah. I mean, this kind of stuff is excellent for like a first pass work, and then like if you're struggling with certain things in drawing issues, you can work on those and then come back to these and revise them and so on. I mean, that's what I'm doing. I'm still trying to digest. That's nice. These are good. I would like to see more posing in the future when you do more of these, but these are good. These are good. Yeah, like these. This guy looks like he's a little off balance. This guy, maybe I would want his shoulder worked out a little more, but I kind of like where you're going with him. There's some other things there's like this side of the body I feel is working pretty well, but the smoke kind of tangents into the front of the cap here. I feel like the head could be more distinct, and the arm here could be too. I think this boot is fine, actually. his leg might need a little work, but I mean, a good start, good sketchy start. They're distinct. These characters are very distinct. Let's finish this. Happy with the silhouette. I mean, the silhouette reads. There are drawing issues with like the shoulders and blah blah blah, but we're not too worried about that. The whole assignment was mainly the silhouette. Yeah, and there's also that shoulder area, and there's like flattening of the torso going on here too, and flattening of the pelvis a bit. There are drawing issues that I can go over maybe a little bit, but I do like the overall kind of, I like the coloring on this character and the general idea of them. I just feel like the construction could be better. It's an old character of yours, so I'd like to see what you could do revising them. Or is this the revision? Curious now, but is there a difference between male and female shapes and how to accentuate that? It depends. I mean, like, there's lots of variation in how male and female characters can look. Actually, one of the people that I wanted to move on to next that we're going to be studying from today, I might as well introduce them to you. This amazing freaking artist who actually some of our Discord folks from Art Center personally know, TB Choi. Usually, they call her the Beast Choi because she's a freaking beast at drawing. She's freaking awesome, and I learned more about. I actually kind of had seen her work before, but I didn't really know much about her. I think this is her self-insert character right here. This one keeps appearing here. There's some mature content here, so we're going to avoid that stuff. But she teaches character design at a place called the Brainstorm Academy, and I'll give a plug for her because we're going to be maybe like looking over some of her stuff. Like, this is the kind of people I want to learn from, you know? I would want to enroll in a class of hers, and you guys should definitely consider enrolling in a class of someone like her yourselves. But this is like study material from her live stream drawing sessions. Ooh, it's very nice. I think I might have followed her already on Twitch. Yeah, I'm giving her a plug. You guys should definitely follow her. Her work is fucking rad. Do that. There she is. But yeah, this is her showing off some principles of character design right here, using shape for different character heads and stuff. Some anatomy stuff. Some other principles of using shape to design characters right here. And here she is doing like examples of like taking realistic reference and like pushing the pose and inventing a story out of it and stuff. And in future semesters, I think, for when I teach here, like some of these kinds of things I want to cover to have us doing, like inventing characters out of photos and stuff like that. Some other awesome examples right here. And here's there's titties there. Sorry. So there's some examples of how to exaggerate male and female shapes right there. And here's some very, very different variations on women body types. And she shows like the basic idea of the shape and how it can apply different things. Yeah, she's freaking rad. Check out her work. I'll link her in chat. We're going to be looking at some more of her stuff later, maybe drawing over some of it. I have to give a full plug to her for sure. But yeah, I'll show her. Alright, let's see here. Yeah, so I linked it in Discord chat, and I'm going to link it also in Twitch chat. Where's Twitch chat? So yeah, definitely check them out, and check them out when they're streaming too, because they look like they'd be really good to ask questions of and so on. Let me see if I can find their Brainstorm Academy page. So the Rainstorm School, they got, this is where she teaches, right here, and I'm going to give a quick plug for them because their school looks really worthwhile. There's stuff on the different courses and stuff. She's teaching one of the character design classes. I think this one, or character design for animation. Yep, she's teaching this one. That's her work. She's teaching. There's 2 different instructors. She's teaching one that starts on September 17th. It's $800. Way worth it, I would say. They're doing online teaching because of COVID right now, and they have a bunch of other stuff. Like they if you want fundamentals, they got fundamentals. Yeah, they look really cool, and they are one of the many places I'm looking at for myself for getting more art training in the future. So yeah, so now we're going to yoink some work to do drawovers of. I'm going to take another glance at chat to maybe see if there's a demo I can do. Yeah, pigeons work. Whoa, pigeons work right here. Oh, TV Choice YouTube. Cool. I'll sub to that. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I'm already subbed to them. That's crazy. Yeah, I think I might have seen some of their drawing demos before, and then I subbed to them over that. Cool. Yeah, Pigeon, one of our younger members from the Discord. They are messing with character design. I might do a draw over of that for a demo. There's some very nice poses actually. I like these. Some of them can probably be pushed more, and like there's stuff like that leg is looking a little weird, but this is really good silhouette right there if that's your work. Yeah, I see where you're going with these guys. There's some posing issues that could be worked out, especially with that leg there and the way that this guy is. But the general idea of these is good. But let's see, the summer. Virgil is a meek, dorky comic nerd that gets the job of his life when he's hired in a secret organization that tracks down and hunt monsters that have been secretly living among the humans for years. Here with Max, a short-tempered tough guy that also happens to be a werewolf. I mean, I could kind of see that. You might want to find some other ways to convey that. One of the problems here I have, one of the problems inherently with this pose is that we don't get to see his lower jaw. Just for this pose, obviously, because so this is probably not the best key image I would pick. I may want to pick one where we get to see more of this character's face. Not that this is necessarily a bad idea, but like the first image that we see the character, we might want to see the first. Like if you were putting this in a pitch Bible, maybe want a pose that shows up more of his face there. Virgil isn't exactly the poster boy bravery, but when his cowardly mistakes unleash the puppy-like beast in Max. What? Puppy-like beast in Max. The sidekick becomes the hero. So there are some like posing issues. There's some stuff with the legs here that could probably be solved. I feel like there's a few other things, opportunities I see for her to push things with this. We might go into this some more. We might go into this a bit to kind of play with it as a demo. Yeah, let's see here. I'm going to maybe grab someone's work to do a demo on. It's pretty neat. I think we might use this one. I think this one's a little bit more successful, so maybe grab this one. Yeah, we'll start with Pigeon, I think. So I like how you're going with like a really kind of very stylized thing, but let's maybe try to add some stuff to it. Oops, 1 second. That might enhance it a bit without taking away from what the basic personality and idea of what you've got. Because I don't really want to really mess with this too much, because I feel like it's kind of going. It's kind of got a Kiki Flip Guide vibe to it. So the biggest thing that I would want to maybe have you work out a little more is kind of keep in mind the cylinder structure of this character's neck for those for like the pigeon fluff I kind of see what you're going for with like the different color sections of a pigeon's neck. It's kind of coming up a little bit too high, maybe I would say, into the head. I almost would want to kind of keep it like this, a little bit more down like this a bit. Also maybe work out the cylinder of it a bit. You could maybe like have it kind of come a bit in the back like there. So this guy's also a little bit stylized, so it's not going to be exactly 3D. But let's try to work out what his stylization is. So maybe like those hearts right there. You could maybe do something like you have a line to guide where the hearts are placed here, for example, so they track a little bit easier. And I do like the overall shape of the head. I'm not going to complain about that. I want to kind of keep the integrity of the charm that you've gone for here without messing with it too much. So we got the center line here. I'm kind of working out the general dimensionality, like if I need to do a head turn on this character. I kind of feel like his eyes are maybe resting below the eye line, which is fine. Oftentimes, like in Disney stuff, you'll see characters with eyes resting on the eye line or below the eye line. In this case, they're below. And you get like a really simple stylized beak that's about right there. It works pretty okay. Follows the center line relatively decently. Then of course you got this simple mass for the beak, like that. Maybe you could do something like, oh, I don't know. These are just suggestions, by the way. So you can do these as you will, but you might have like this underneath where the neck would, about where the neck would be. Like that a bit. Actually, I don't have to change too much. Just keep it along the ring here. You could even like bring it off the sides a little bit, kind of like the layers of pigeon feathers a bit, kind of like that. So the other thing I see going on here that could be fixed is the surface of the wings are looking a little flat and the overlap is looking a little odd. So the way to fix that is first off to keep in mind what the mass of the body is, where like the neck connects and so on. So I'm going to kind of use this as a center line for the body, which kind of means that his breast will be about there-ish, I'd say. And the construction of the body can remain kind of a ball, or maybe like the ball. I don't know how this character looks from profile. I think I've seen you draw him where it has kind of like a football shape to it, to its body, kind of like that. Actually, I have seen you draw this character in profile before. But the big issue that I'm trying to fix right here is the wings need to look like more like they're wrapping over the body, including with that kind of lovely stylized idea that you have of how to handle the wings. So maybe like you use some guidelines like this, and that helps you like find the curve of how like this pattern on the wings would wrap over the body, like this. And then what you can do back here, there is an issue going on here with, let's see, yeah, like this area kind of here kind of bothers me because of how, the way that the wing, whoop, 1 second, the way that the wing is tucking in there. I mean, I get what you're going for. I this is something from that's a little bit like a pigeon wing. Is a little bit, but my initial instinct on what to do with this would be to first off like stylize those a little bit so those look like, so like the divisions between the feathers here look a little bit like they're going back into space a bit. So like this whole wing is going like this, back into space across over the surface of the body. And then this tail back here, you can also do a little something with too. Like it's the same principle. Like you use these little kind of dimensional draw over lines like that, and then you can stylize to it like that. Like you're cutting pieces of dough together and frosting them, kind of. Like that. And if you want to, you could draw through the body, you can kind of figure out where it is a little bit more. Little center line there on the tail. Let's get some more of this in down here. So I like the kind of Kiki flip mount feet that you got. But let's see. Let's actually look at Kiki flip notes pigeons for some ideas. He does them really, really simple, but I'm looking at for the posing. Some posing ideas. He does them even simpler than what you've done. Oops. Yeah, yours is probably closer to a real pigeon than I would say than even his. Oh, yeah, there's some of that. There's an art trade with someone where they did more pigeony feet. Some other interpretations of Kiki flip notes work. Those are always fun. But yeah, like I kind of like what you got with like the very plain feet, but let's see if there's anything we can do. Maybe adjust where they're placed. Like kind of like. Let's try this actually. I'll try. Moving them over to a little to the left, and then pointing them inward. Hang on, so I don't really see too many problems with this wing. It's like, those are really simple curves over the form, over there, and that's all you need on that side, from this angle. Doing a little thing there. So like hearts maybe could on the top and bottom could follow the cylinder of the head and the neck a little bit, kind of. Just as a little note for myself. Honestly, like I think maybe might be a good idea to omit that kind of complicated part under the head like that. And maybe like around the back and the side of his head, it does this. But then like around here-ish, it gets more smooth. Might be a good idea. Again, these are suggestions. Like I'm kind of exploring with and would eliminate what doesn't work. You could maybe just like even eliminate those entirely and just have the only part that's really fluffed is here. I'm thinking in terms of like how this kind of makes it a little hard to turn the head around without it kind of going weird. I mean, it could still work. Let's try this real quick. Let's actually go with what you had again, a little bit more, but kind of following what I've got with the cylinder of the head a bit. I'm trying to like wrap my head around how I would go about animating this guy. Yeah, I actually kind of like it a little like that now that I can sort of visualize that dimensionally a bit. And you did kind of stylize this end here, so maybe I will keep that. But, I mean, that's just stuff to try. You can try eliminating that, or like smoothing out, or whatever. Or you can maybe even try pushing it, like some of these are bigger, and some of these are smaller than others. So you might have small ones and then like big ones back here, or something like that. It might be bigger towards the middle. It might be like small ones. Anyway, one of the other problems that I see with this is this thing called tangents that's going on in your design. Which is, tangents are when lines get too parallel to each other and they flatten something out. So in this case, the tangent that's going on here is all along here. Like these two lines are really close in parallel to each other on the wing and on there. So the thing about tangents is they are it's a principle to avoid them. It's a it's not a hard and fast rule, but in this case I think it will strengthen your drawing to maybe make the wing a little more distinct from this. That can be solved by like kind of just bringing the wing out a little bit. In this case. This is a little tricky because there's a very, very heavily rounded bottom to this wing. And the bottom of this character's body is very round. So inherently these are going to potentially tangent from certain angles. And one way to solve that is to maybe square off the bottom of the wing or something. Or just bear that in mind when animating them. Anyway, those are just some suggestions. I actually like this character, and I think it's very charming. I think it's kind of your OC that you're probably going to continually evolve over time and try stuff out with. So, I mean, these are just suggestions. You can play with it however. You can mess with construction ideas like this kind of stuff I suggested of curving over the form to try to wrap over the body and figure that stuff out. Figure out the dimensionality of the wing, so on, kind of like what that little blue line that I'm going right there, drawing through the form. So the chicken wing or pigeon wing on the body. But it's just something to play with. I do like kind of like this very kind of Adventure Time, Yellow Submarine sort of stylization going on here, and I don't really necessarily want to kill it. So this is just stuff for you to play with. I'll do a screenshot of this so that you can do this as you will. Pigeon demo. Okay. That's our first little demo here. Yeah, there's also the tangent issue right here. I do like. There's also some issues a little bit with the feet, but I do kind of like where you're going with this. I like the face. So I'll upload that. Oh yeah. Spicy Robot just gave you a bunch of inspiration of potential shapes to play with for pigeons. I might not like your I like your little pigeon guy, but like the basic idea of this kind of little, unassuming little pigeon face. And you can play with it. You can play with it however you want. You can try maybe studying some of the ways that other character design pigeons have been drawn. Some great examples in here, like the Spies in Disguise pigeon thing. One of the irritating design tropes of this movie is that you have a human character advertised on the poster for the film, and then the human character winds up spending most of the film as a freaking pigeon or as another animal character and stuff. It's one of those really annoying design tropes. like a annoying bait and switch. Oops. Alright, so let's see, who else can do a demo of, maybe solve some, maybe try to attempt to solve some drawing issues. Oh, Chibi Choi interview, that's awesome. With Bobby Chu. Yeah. Yeah, I'll check that out after. That seems really good. So let's definitely do this one. I don't know if we're going to do that one next, but that's a good one to try. I like these, so maybe I might draw on top of these a little bit. And maybe suggest some things. I'll hold on to this guy. I might do a little bit of a thing on that. And now I might do a quick attempt to fix some of the drawing problems in these. Although, I mean, these are really supposed to be basic silhouettes, but there are, like, you know, drawing issues that you can probably solve and stuff. Don't know if I'll do that one. The only thing that really bugs me about this is the shoulder and arm construction on that. And it's not a silhouette specific thing. I might do a draw over this to try to work out the shapes better and the construction a little better. What time is it? It is 6:40. Yeah, I really enjoyed doing that little suggested demo of you. Like your characters that you've designed are real. I'm amazed at what you've actually made, Pigeon. To be honest, they're charming and they're simple and they're not too complicated. Like it's not too hard for like someone like me to maybe make minor suggestions to construction and stuff. Like I think that you have given yourself a really simple character that you can do a lot to play with when you're animating them. So yeah, keep playing with that guy. I might show you some stuff if you have done any kind of walk stuff to start with him. I might be able to do a demo this Friday for the animation class on getting him to walk. So let's see here. Who am I going to do a demo of next? Let's do the Virgil and Max one, I think. So I'll make a note of the problem areas that I see. First off, I kind of like this basic idea of this pose right here. I just think he may look a little off balance. So maybe lean him more that direction. The basic pose of this guy. It looks like the top half is working a little better than the lower half. Like, I think I might want to lay like his legs are looking a little stubby, to be honest. So to me, I would maybe want to lengthen his legs a bit. Get like the basic posture of his arms. Maybe I want to say that his shoulders are tilted. And we can counterpose that maybe with the hips are a little straighter or leaned the other, or tilted the other way. I would want to normally get pose reference for this, but I'm going to try to push beyond what I've got in front of me a little bit. And see what I can do with that. Get like kind of these block shapes to plant his feet. So I said that I was kind of bugged by him by us not seeing more of his face. Also, like the designs of these don't quite say Monster Hunters to me just yet. There might be some cues that you can use for that. They say more prep school for me. or butler. So maybe think about ways you can convey hunter in their design. I mean, you can keep you can keep them in uniforms, maybe even uniforms just like this, but there might be aspects of the designs that imply more that they are hunters that you can play with. So I mean, I do like the attitude being conveyed here about how serious he is, but personally, I would want to see more of his face to get to know this character more at my first introduction to him. Maybe not going to work on reposing that right now because I really want to work on the legs. Basic gesture of the legs here. Maybe let's repose his buddy back there a little bit. So the way I'm thinking of kind of going with this is like, actually, you know what? Here, let's try this. Well, I'll finish that last thought that I was on a little bit. Just want to maybe... So he's a werewolf, right? So maybe give him like kind of a noble wolfish sort of demeanor when he's like on the prowl and hunting in human form, of course. There's like some kind of nobility sort of thing to him for how he's postured here. It's supposed to be like a puppy in his wolf form, from what I heard, from what the text says. But he can be, but I do kind of like the idea of like, maybe he's like really kind of a proud character in his human form. That's what I'm getting kind of, but he's like kind of humiliatingly puppy-like in his werewolf form to an extent. Or the idea of, or he might be like a horrifying monster, but really cute demeanor or something. So what I'm kind of thinking, what I wanted to finish the train of thought on with the other dude back here is using the ground plane of the area here to kind of get more of a sense of space here of how the characters are standing, surrounded by potential threats on all sides and stuff. So you can do that with like, I mean, you kind of almost think of them like Dungeons and Dragons miniatures in a way, in terms of like how they're kind of postured and posed out in a potential, and what may be potentially turning into a combat scenario in the area that they're standing in. Game pieces poised for battle. I think I actually would want to maybe consider separating the guy's sword from his body a little bit. Either that or really pushing it back there, but we'll want to see how it reads either way. I do like the upturned toes there. It's a nice touch that kind of helps convey his fraidy cat nature. You can probably contrast that with this guy's point. This guy maybe having more pointed toes. He does have kind of brickish toes, but pointed and forward toes. This guy's means business. He can spring into action in any direction. I don't know what this character's face looks like, but I'm just going to kind of throw an expression together. I'm probably not going to go too much further into this. I mean, I like the basic idea of them. A lot of it is like drawing construction issues and considering a few things to push, and maybe some design choices and things. So, I need to play with it some more. Like, have fun with these characters. Try to work out their construction and posing some more. This is just like a rough do-over suggestion of something to try. And you could even go further than what I got. So here you go. Yeah, you're welcome. Some people playing with different weird, funny, funky designs for the pigeon. I mean, like that pigeon character you made, you could potentially like warp their body, kind of like what's going on here. You could have like gags where its legs stretch out, or it changes shape, but then it goes back to your design here at some point. Anyway, yeah, pushing them gestures right here. Alright, so, let me see if maybe I can either do one more demo, or we can move on to something else. Maybe I'll do like a once-over on this, because I want to show what you can kind of do when you have silhouettes like these. A fun thing to do is to take take basic shapes you've kind of built up, is like kind of finding these blank silhouettes of the characters, and you can go in and start kind of working out the interior a bit. You don't even have to go that complicated with your first pass, but you can kind of maybe work out what their interior shapes might look like. I have no idea what you wanted to do with these characters, so I'm just going to invent something. Based on what I'm reading here. So it looks like sleeves right here with kind of hands there. And you can even go beyond the silhouette and loosen it up a bit. Like, this character seems a little stocky. They all kind of seem a little stocky, like they're kind of wide. They kind of feel like they might be in the same family to me, or have some relation. As opposed to like another character in the same story but not part of this group might be like really tall and lanky or something. I'm just kind of guessing here. I'm maybe gonna like throw some shorts on this guy. This guy or gal. caps there. Some center lines for the legs, a little bit. Some rough gesture for the hands. Maybe like some surface direction for the clothes here a little bit, just. And you can keep these rough and loose when you're playing with them. Like, you don't have to be precious with it. The silhouette gave you a starting point to play with. You can push the character a bit, play with it and work stuff out. I like the idea of very loose clothes here. So these are fun to do, so I'm going to do another one of these here. So maybe we're going to push the hair up a bit here, and maybe push that back hair larger a bit. But I do kind of want that really kind of wide look that's going on here. So upper body can be kind of like that. Lower body can be basic structure of that. It kind of like a sweep here for the shoulders and circle there for the neck coming out of the top of the torso. Working out more of the interior structure of this character a little bit more than the other one, because the other one kind of felt like it had a big mass of a shirt. I do like this kind of line of action sweep here happening at the ankles. Maybe I'll push this foot down a little bit further. Something like this. Something like that, maybe. You can play with potential different outfits. Let's maybe make her sleeveless, kinda. Does look like she might be wearing shorts or some kind of... Maybe she's like a diver or something. This is what she wears, as kind of like a... Not really a wetsuit, but something that would be kept a little bit warm for extended periods of diving in shallows or something. And if I wanted to go with the diver thing, I could maybe play with, like, she's got a starfish there. the starfish decoration on her hair. So this character, we could play with something like, really play up the cloak thing that's going on here, and keep it simple. So it looks like that the bottom of the back of the cloak might be what we're seeing down below here, with the legs coming up in there. I'm thinking we maybe give kind of a canopy to the hair around the head a bit. This might be a very mysterious and guarded character. I'm gonna maybe make them some kind of a weird supernatural oracle with glowing eyes. Okay. They might have some ankle decoration or something. Add some interest to the feet. And then this character, they look more like a child. This one's a little less worked out than the others, I would say. So maybe I can embellish on this one a little bit more. But I do see a hair piece of like a young girl would wear right there, kind of hair decoration. She has that kind of stockiness that the other characters sort of have. Even if they're not the same family, and within the context of the world, they might be of similar nationality, so similar body type or similar ethnic background. Got a really thick leg there and a thinner leg there, so maybe decide between the two. Just, since it's a young girl, I'll err on the side of thin, but maybe give her big feet. Kind of looks like she's wearing a large t-shirt with some other things on it. It's like some kind of shoulder guards things. I'm maybe not going to go too far into this because I'm starting to lose my concentration a bit on, and I want to get to some other things. But, I mean, this is a starting point for a girl character. Alright. Sort of sculpted some character personalities out of it. I would, if I was going to play with this more, I'd probably want to do another pass at the girl, because I kind of lost my head of steam by the time I got to them. But there's a little bit of a starting point. Those are just invented characters. I have no idea what you have in mind with those, or if they're just random silhouettes. But that's the kind of stuff you can play with if you have invented, if you have silhouettes of your characters, or you're playing with them or whatever. Yeah, let's see what responses we got from that. Who did that again? I think that was them posting, but I just want to make sure who they were. Okay. Alright, Talal. Yeah, let's see here what they had to say about that. It's a girl, yeah, they're supposed to be a part of, they're supposed to be the fighter of the group. This girl, yeah, the kind of diver. Oh wait, that one. Is that a girl? Yeah, I kind of left the gender a little ambiguous. I was thinking dude, but the gender could be, it's enough for the gender to be ambiguous, like it could be a girl. And now that I look at it more, it definitely could be more of a girl. There are some ways that I would have pushed it that would make it more like a girl if I'd known that. While keeping the general idea. They look like they might have like a Letterman jacket, and I think there's like the ponytail on the back and stuff. Yeah. The second is gender fluid. Actually, the other two are girls. Yeah, I was just taking a stab in the dark at the silhouettes, basically. Yeah. So. Could I get a review of Comical's work? Let me have a look what you posted. Or can you repost it? Because it's kind of hard to find. Oh. I don't know if we'll have time to do it, but let me take a peek at it at the very least. Which is the drawings by you? Is yours the drawings on the upper left here? I mean, I know that's yours, but is that yours up there? The turnaround. Okay. Yeah, I'll take a look at it. I don't know how in depth I'm going to be able to get into it because I want to get to a couple other things before class ends in the next 20 minutes. But I'll take a peek. There's a few people's works that I really wanted to get to, but I don't think we'll have time. Oh, yeah, here we go. Alright, let's import it. Here we go. Alright, we're not going to be able to get to this too much, but I'll try to go over some of the things I'm seeing here. I think there's things you can do to maybe vary and play with the body type, with the body proportions. I kind of like the studies that you're doing. I think you should do more of those to kind of wrap your head around what you're trying to do with this guy. But there are some problems going on with this, with the construction, that I'd like to see you solve a little bit more solidly. They must have to do with tracking the shoulders and making sure the hips are well tracked. Like, I think I kind of feel like his hips are supposed to be doing this here, is what you're kind of going for. In which case you want to keep that into account from when you design this, when you like figure out where the spine is in this guy. I don't know what that thing is on his head. Looks like a it looks like one of those deer hunter caps or something, like one of those things. Am I right about he's supposed to be wearing one of these? What is that? Anyway, so his stance could be a little better. Like, I want more feeling of weight and natural posing on the leg that he's favoring. And you want to think of the limbs when they're coming off in terms of simple tubes, kind of, before you kind of really cut into them with the shapes that you need to make. That's a gesture design principle. That's a gesture drawing principle, and you can use that as a starting point before you cut into them with when you start with like it was like what I was talking about earlier, where you start with like, you can start with like two concentric, two kind of curved tapered lines like that, and then when you add ends to them, it becomes a structured object. In this case, a cubed end tapering out from a circular end on that. Kind of what I did with like the forearm earlier. But I would do like a draw over on yours. I'm doing one for you now, but I would want you to do something like this yourself and kind of see how you can work out the dimensionality of the character. Like, I'm going to assume that that's what his hat is. Maybe do that. Like, when we're looking at him right here, it's not a perfect, completely back angle. From what it looks like, we can see kind of the side of his gut here. That's okay for like, sometimes character turnarounds aren't necessarily full turnarounds, and they might be at like slightly off angles for like simple model sheets. Or like simple reference poses for like a comic book, for example, might not have a completely worked out full turnaround. Really depends. If you're doing a comic, for example, when you do your turnarounds, they're mostly just like for you to refer to keep you consistent on certain things. And sometimes it's okay for you, you give yourself permission for your particular approach to have some freedom to vary the character and have them go off model to an extent for your comic. Or even for your animated short, for that matter. But then the model sheet becomes a way to kind of reorient yourself. And of course, as you kind of feel like you can improve the character over time, as you get more used to drawing them and try different ways of drawing them, you might update the model sheet. Oop. Pit of the crotch is about there-ish. That's another thing here. So the pit of the crotch is here, and it's tracking over there. So another thing you want to do in the future is to like get some lining up where certain key areas of the body are supposed to be. Like that pit of the crotch should be about like there. Yeah. So maybe I should adjust that. Maybe move that down here-ish. How much time we got? We got about 15 minutes. I think we can go a little over to go over some of the cool stuff I wanted to go over. And the homework this week will be to continue with basically what I had you started doing last week. I want you to continue developing your characters. The goal we're going to work towards is I want to have you have a development sheet of your character together. So try to get that together for next week. Like, try to keep developing your characters and like put together a development sheet or a couple development sheets of your character or characters that are kind of like in like the vein of that one thing I showed earlier. Like this sort of stuff. Not specifically like this, but like kind of like the same general idea. Like, you want like your character turnaround, you want your like your studies that you've done, the different versions of the character, different attempts of color and stuff. You can show different phases of the character design in progress. I want you to show off like the fruits of your labor, basically, with your character. You can show You can show in progress development work to show the progression of the different versions of the character that you're currently working on. You can show it's up to you how you want to compose your page. You can make it look pretty. You can make it look presentable. You can keep it simple. But I want to see the fruits of your labor with your story and your character that you developed. You can include text blurbs on page, you could context, anything like that. I would look to a lot of stuff for inspiration that you can find on ArtStation. We'll maybe look at some of the stuff I've found as examples. But anyway, yeah, there's a little demo there. We're going to maybe try to keep some of the integrity of the studies you did a little bit on these guts. Guts and stomachs and tummies. This guy here. He's got a rib cage under there. His pelvis is about here. His hips are just really wide because he's overweight. But yeah, do more. I would say do more of the studies too. I mean, like, this is a good start that you had for doing studies of this dude. There are some issues with the shoulders. Just always try to keep. You want to keep trying to push in the direction of thinking in terms of interlocking 3D shapes that are flow together with gesture. So do whatever it takes to kind of wrench that out of your drawings. Like the kind of draw over stuff that I'm doing right now is one way you can approach it. But yeah, I hope this gives you some ideas of what to play with a bit. I'll do a screenshot of this. Ooh, this is nice. Oh wow, this is some good looking studies of horses. Wow. Spicy Robot going all out with the horse studies. This is really nice stuff. Very nice and very presentable. Like, if you want to look for examples of what I want people to present next week, stuff like this. What Spicy Robot's got here. The only thing I'll say about this is, well, this is getting a little scrunched over here. Some of these are getting a little scrunched. That horse is getting a little narrow and scrunched there. There's more kind of... I think these were all done on one page. They're very like sketched, and so you kind of scrunched things here and there. But yeah, there's little bits and pieces of things that I could probably help you with. This is the kind of stuff I would want to go over in animal drawing class to really push. But let me take a look at these. I think these are a little more successful. There's some issues with the front of the horse here. But I mean, I like where you're going, what you're doing here. This is fun. Yeah. Try to push your horse drawing, improve your horse drawing even more next week. This is an excellent study right here of pushing that kind of stuff. Yeah. Yeah, a Spicy Robot gives excellent examples of the kind of stuff I want to see from you guys next week. I want like pages of stuff like this. Pages maybe testing out different designs and character designs for the clothing or just anything. You can make it as elaborate or as simple as you want. I want you to play with this. We're all at different skill levels here, and we're all going to be playing with different things. Look for inspiration, for ideas for developing your characters and taking them further. We're going to be giving it our best effort this next week, working on our stuff. I'm going to be putting the fruits of my labor together, and I'm going to be thinking about how I'm going to restructure my character design class for next semester. So I maybe want something quite a bit more formal and a little bit more along the lines of what we did today, except working in iterative steps a lot more than what we're doing. Well, very similar in structure to what we're doing now, where I do a combination of demos showing inspirational stuff and going over principles for people to focus on, I think is what we're going to probably wind up doing with future character design and concept design sessions. But one thing I really want to try doing, here, I'm going to grab this real quick, is there's a special workshop I'm interested in putting on that I got the idea from one of our new folks, who apparently there was an art center teacher that did this, and it's, here, let's see, one sec, where'd he go? Yeah, Fetching Seeker, who's one of our new folks, who's a really, really awesome artist. So at Art Center, there was this one instructor who made people draw like hundreds of sheds, like hundreds of these shed designs and stuff, as far as like their first homework assignment for his class. And it's an excellent idea because these are big, basic box shapes and stuff. And this is all. I think the design class, they also did like character design and other things too. But he wanted them to do like basic shed. He wanted them to do sheds, like just tons and tons of sheds. Because working with those 3D box forms is an excellent warm-up to doing characters, because you're going to be using 3D shapes on the characters and stuff. But anyway, he had them doing like tons and tons of these apparently as their first assignment, and as a result, like when portfolio reviewers from the industry came to Art Center and saw people's portfolios, they were going, "What the hell's going on with all the sheds in the portfolios?" There was like this kind of problem with like a lot of portfolios looking similar from the people who took his class, where they would all have these all these shed designs and stuff. But anyway, I'm thinking of doing a specialized workshop session in the near future where we will literally be drawing tons and tons of sheds, and there will be a homework assignment of drawing tons of sheds. But I want to find out the specifics of what they did for that class, or what they did for that exercise, so then we can get some value out of it beyond being kind of almost a meme. So, I mean, your homework assignment for this next week is to keep working on your stuff. Keep in mind the principles that we talked about at the beginning of class here. Let me see that if I can bring that up here. Keep in mind these basic principles for your character designs and stuff. Story, shape and line, silhouette, proportions and exaggeration, expression, posture and stance, scale, color, shading, and texture. You don't necessarily have to worry about color, shading, and texture too much. You can like stay in these earlier kind of principled areas more, especially if you're kind of working out like the basic drawing idea of your character and so on. But keep these in mind. Try to exercise them to the best of your ability. And let's take a look at some awesome art for inspiration of maybe showing off examples of the kind of stuff we should be doing before we go. Character design sheets, class inspiration. I did a lot of likes this week. Might be some good shit in here too. I'm looking for sheets of good ass shit. Yeah, so here's some of the silhouettes we looked at. Here's a good example right here we looked at last week. This is the kind of sheets I want people putting together. We get like turnaround stuff. We get that's showing off scale right there of this character, of how tall she is. These are some props that this particular character uses. We get a nice little key drawing right here of showing this character. Different alternate versions of her without, and this one's noticed without any shading on it, so they put more time into that one. They just showing off like the basic idea of them without fully coloring them in. Alternate outfits, action poses with really simple kind of flats, silhouetted color right here. That's a silhouette drawing right there, using that thing. So you can see that they worked out the silhouette of this character in while they were doing this, so it works pretty nicely here when they shrink that down for the scale thing. But I mean, like a nice, concise sheet like this would be excellent for next week. You don't have to go over elaborate. You could literally, I would be happy with like, I'd be happy with like 1 or 2 or 3 of these kinds of things. I mean, it's whatever. I mean, you're not being graded by any of this. Just take it as far as you're able to, as you want to, and try stuff out. That's nice. That was a really good page. I'll link that in chat. That's, I mean, if you want to kind of reorient yourself to what you want to kind of do next week. And then I posted this particular piece in chat, so you can look at that as an example. Oh yeah, this one was amazing. The Rocky Horror Picture Show, crappy little mobile game, but with amazing concept art by this guy. I'm gonna link this one in chat because this is a really good example of a lot of posing, and a lot of expression, a lot of good silhouette. Let's link that in chat. This is stuff that this is the kind of stuff I would love to see. Although this is like ridiculously well executed, so don't be too intimidated by how amazingly well executed this stuff is. Just give it your best shot and do your best. We can do drawing demos and help you solve drawing problems and stuff a little bit next week. This guy's really cool. Definitely check out some. Oh yeah, here. I would also like if yeah, like you can include like some of these kind of things of like different sketch versions of a character that you're picking. You can. I would be okay with you including a page of your reference right here, for example, like what this guy did. Link that in chat. This is just freaking awesome right here. Max Grek, that's one of the dudes that's in that video that I linked tonight. This dude's just, we've looked at him before in this class. This dude's freaking rad. Excellent command of shape and attitude and posing. This stuff is just so much fun. I'm hoping that I eventually get the dexterity up in my art practice to be closer to somebody like him. That's just gonna come with practice over time, however I develop myself. All my likes. I don't know if you can share likes. I'll try, because I've been liking a lot of neat work recently. So hopefully that works. Aliens concept for a personal project. Oh, that's neat. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, check that out. And you did a 3D turnaround of a 3D model. There's some of the reference right there. Different attempts at the head and so on. This is the kind of problem solving that you do. And have pages of this stuff. I'm not expecting a finished character, mind you, per se. I want to see how you're developing these characters and what problems you're solving with them. What you do next week will not necessarily be like the final version of the character you could do. You may have multiple versions of it. You may take multiple cracks at them. Yeah, it's not really. That's just a sketch, but that's a neat sketch. Kind of Splatoonish, for sure. I like the color. I like the shading on that. The glowing poison backpack. Yeah, there's lots of fun stuff, and I would encourage you to dig through ArtStation to look for inspiration, stuff that really strikes your fancy. You maybe want to pull ideas from. That's a really wild version of Pokemon. I don't know if I've ever seen this. I've ever shown this one on stream, but this is an artist that has a very heavily polygonal style. Geez, that is really push. Look at how pushed they go with their exaggeration. This is like extreme end exaggeration stuff, but they're so wild with it, and it still makes visual sense. It's just crazy and fun. Man. It's so crazily stylized. I love it, though. What's this? Is that Digimon? Yeah, that's Digimon. Huh. I like that one. I like the cat's expression there. But I mean, this is all the stuff we're talking about. Posing, expression, exaggeration, silhouette. And expression is what pulled me into this, because that's a really funny expression. Heavy metal cat. Oh, look at that Mojo Jojo. This is so, wow, this is wild. I don't know if I like the power. This is funny. This is a really, really funny interpretation of the Powerpuff Girls, but I don't think it's very appealing. I think the eyes are okay, but the mouth in between there is really not doing it for me. But everything else about it is looking cool. I love, and the Mojo Jojo I have no complaints about. He just looks really cool. This guy likes really playing funky stuff with the mouth placement in general. This is a really fun artist. I've linked them in chat, I think. Did I? I'll link them in chat, because they're cool. Man. Taizi Hui. Freelance illustrator from Malaysia. I love the self-portrait they gave here. Oh. This is just, the other work is just really fun. Wow, fan arts. Look at their fan arts. Dang, it's Kibo from the Leica film. What's that? Is that Evangelion, or what is that? Can anyone identify what that is? On the upper right there. Hellboy, Ghost in the Shell. I'm having a brain fart. I recognize this, but I forget what it is. And of course, Overwatch. Yeah, what's that on the upper right, and what's this down here? The rabbit character. Second. King Kazuma from Star Wars. I still need to see that. I've only seen chunks of it. Bottom right is from Summer Wars. Bottom right is from Summer Wars. Yeah! Now I recognize it. Yeah, no wonder I was brain farting for it. So what's the upper right one? I know it's a giant robot, but I can't tell what. Its head is mostly obscured. Gundam. That is that a Gundam? Which Gundam is it? Oh, that's what Gundam it is. Yeah, but we're so pulled close to that face, it's kind of hard to tell which one it is. There's so much of it obscured there. Oops. Where did I put that? Did I close the... Oh, damn it. Yeah, oh yeah, I already saved this earlier. Like, TB Choi had, there's a few sold tutorials and, printed tutorials on here. I only saved a few of these, but there's like some minor tutorials here from some artists. I'll link this, because I might put more in this collection later. But this one also included a link to the TB Choi $10 paid tutorial on legs. So this is a $10 tutorial from them. If you want a taste of how they teach for $10, it looks like. Very nice. I wanted to get to doing drawovers on their work and something tonight, but I think doing the demos was a little bit more valuable use of our time for this evening. But I would strongly recommend taking the work of awesome folks like TP Choi here and doing drawovers and copy studies of their work. Copy these heads, for example. Draw over and also copy the heads to study and learn from them. Draw and study stuff like this. Like look at that hand. Look at these demos from. Maybe you can find replays of their Twitch stuff where they do demos like this, talking about hand anatomy and stuff. I mean, this person looks like they'd be freaking amazing to study and learn from. I'm gonna give a wholesale plug of this person for sure here, because their work is freaking rad, and I feel like you could learn a tremendous amount from them. So yeah, we're going to wrap this up. Thank you all for coming. I had a lot of fun this time. I think that this session got off on the right foot a lot more than the other character design sessions I've done. And it's given me a little bit of a hint of how to better run these character design sessions for future sessions. So I'm going to give everyone who's still stuck around to the end. I'll give a quick plug to my Ko-fi page. Also, you can support me if you have a Twitch Prime sub, or if you have some money for Twitch, you can support me with a subscription or bits on Twitch, or you can send me a coffee donation. You can help me work towards paying for a prepaid subscription for Adobe Creative Cloud so I can start using Photoshop again. Anyway, so congratulations, million. We'll get to the congratulations screen now. Oh, thank you for Accommodaire for the Twitch Prime sub. Thank you very much. Every little bit helps. Yeah. We'll be getting to the congratulations screens very shortly. I just want to check one thing. Yes.
Congratulations. Thank you all.